Okay, let's jump right into this explainer by completely shattering a dangerous myth that's probably putting your organization at risk right now. For decades, we've operated under this illusion that phishing attacks are just clumsy. We've been trained to spot bad grammar, weird formatting, or those classic Nigerian prince scenarios. But today, we're going to look at some hard data from cybersecurity leaders like Ironscales, Adaptive Security, and SendGuard to show you that those days are entirely over. Generative AI has fundamentally rewritten the rules of engagement.
$25.6 million. Just let that staggeringly huge number sink in for a second. That is exactly what was stolen from the global engineering firm AirUp in a single devastating heist. But the craziest part? They didn't get hacked through some complex firewall vulnerability. An employee voluntarily wired this money after joining a video call where his chief financial officer and several other colleagues instructed him to do so. The catch is that every single person on that call, except the victim, was an AI-generated deepfake.
The Hong Kong police investigation brought to light something truly terrifying. The victim stated that the people on the call looked and sounded exactly like colleagues he knew. Think about that for a second. It proves that if your company's security culture still relies on employees spotting a typo or a weird greeting, you are entirely defenseless. When the attacker looks exactly like your CFO, sounds exactly like your CFO, and is actively referencing real internal projects, human intuition is just no longer a reliable firewall.
Section 1. The new face of phishing, unlearning the old rules.
The paradigm shift we're facing here is massive. You see, traditional phishing used to be a volume-based guessing game. It was basically a spray-and-pray tactic with totally generic greetings. But AI-powered phishing? That is an automated, precision-targeted weapon. Attackers are now using AI to scrape open-source intelligence, or OSINT, from LinkedIn and your corporate websites to craft grammatically flawless emails that read exactly like your own internal company communications.
Section 2. Anatomy of a Perfect Attack. The Ironscales Case Study.
Let's reverse engineer how this actually plays out in the real world with a highly sophisticated credential harvesting attack that recently hit a regional credit union. The attackers spun up this incredibly convincing DocuSign impersonation. It looked exactly like a standard non-disclosure agreement notification. But instead of a generic link, it asked victims to enter a specific fabricated 33-character access code on the destination page. And this is just a brilliant psychological trick. By making the user enter a code first, the attacker establishes a false sense of trust before asking for the actual login credentials. Now, here's the really brilliant part. How they actually hid this from security scanners. Traditional email filters check the links in an email, right? So to bypass this, the attackers used a 3-hop evasion technique. Hop 1 was a totally legitimate Google redirect. Hop 2 routed through Monday.com's tracking infrastructure. And because these are highly trusted domains, the static link scanners just waved it right through. It was only on Hop 3 that the user was quietly dropped onto a credential harvesting server hosted all the way in Zimbabwe. And wow, they absolutely didn't stop there. To sneak past behavioral filters, the attackers spoofed the email so it looks like the employee had actually sent it to themselves. They even padded the bottom of the message with a legitimate, hijacked community email thread just to confuse AI sentiment analysis. And honestly, the worst part? They took advantage of the credit union's weak DMARC policy, which was set to none, meaning the system just watched the spoofed emails come in but took absolutely no action to block them.
Section 3. The dark LLM economy, the SaaSification of crime.
So you might be wondering, how are these attackers pulling this off so flawlessly? Well, welcome to the underground economy of dark LLMs. We're talking about uncensored large language models, things like WormGPT and FraudGPT. These are fine-tuned specifically on malware, exploit code, and highly successful phishing templates, designed entirely to bypass the ethical guardrails that companies like OpenAI put in place. These tools have completely collapsed the skill barrier, allowing total novices to generate enterprise-grade attacks without writing a single line of code.
And honestly, what's genuinely terrifying is that this operates exactly like a legitimate software-as-a-service business. Attackers are buying monthly subscriptions. They get automated recon tools that scrape your employees' LinkedIn profiles in literally seconds. They can generate attacks with flawless multi-language support. And get this, if they get stuck, they literally have 24/7 customer support channels right on Telegram. It is a fully mature business model aimed directly at your inbox.
To put this massive shift in velocity into perspective, IBM threat researchers found that historically, crafting a highly targeted spear phishing email took a human attacker about 16 hours of research and drafting per target. But with AI, It takes just 5 prompts and about 5 minutes to launch a fully automated campaign. This crazy shift in speed means attackers can A/B test and iterate new campaigns way faster than our security teams could ever hope to write detection rules.
Section 4. Why old defenses fail, the signal problem.
Okay, so why are our traditional secure email gateways suddenly missing so many of these attacks? Well, the core problem isn't just the sheer volume. It's that AI has systematically erased the very signals our filters rely on. Grammatical errors? They're gone. Typo squatting is gone, replaced by those trusted Google and Monday.com redirectors we talked about earlier. And because AI can instantly generate a unique, polymorphic email for every single target, traditional bulk signature blocking is completely nullified. A filter just cannot detect what produces zero signal. Plus, the battlefield itself has shifted further upstream. SendGuard data actually shows that 66% of authorized push payment fraud now originates on online platforms, things like social media, messaging apps, and marketplaces. Attackers are using AI to conduct these extended, personalized manipulation campaigns over days or even weeks in a pre-session window. This means the entire social engineering phase is completely invisible to your bank's traditional transaction monitoring until the victim actually hits send on that wire transfer.
Section 5. The AI Defense Playbook. Rebuilding our architecture. Look, we clearly cannot fight machine speed attacks with human speed defenses. Tuning your existing filters is not going to restore signals that literally no longer exist. So here is the new playbook with the 3 pillars you absolutely need today. First up, authentication. You need strict DMARC policies set to reject to stop domain spoofing dead in its tracks. Second, identity. You've got to move away from text message MFA and implement FIDO2 hardware keys to block proxy-based credential theft. And third, detection. You must deploy AI-native behavioral analytics that flag anomalies in how people actually communicate, like an executive suddenly emailing from a strange IP at 2 a.m., rather than relying on known bad signatures. And to combat that pre-session manipulation we were just talking about, we have got to move detection upstream to the device layer. Because while AI can easily write a flawless email, it cannot fake the actual behavioral execution of an attack. By monitoring the URLs visited, the sequence of browsing, and those environmental traces on the device itself, defenders get a reliable signal that operates completely independently of how persuasive that AI-generated text happens to be.
So, what's the bottom line for you today? You need to take these actionable steps immediately. Move your DMARC policies to reject. Get FIDO2 implemented across the board. But perhaps most importantly, for your human firewall, you need to run continuous AI-generated phishing simulations. Your security awareness training has to actually reflect the OSINT-powered threats your employees are facing right now, because training them to hunt for typos is preparing them for a threat that simply doesn't exist anymore. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to really chew on. If an email reads perfectly, arrives from a trusted domain via a secure redirect, and sounds exactly like your boss, how will you verify it? Because when the digital illusion is this flawless, your only true defense is a culture of relentless, out-of-band, independent verification. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Stay vigilant out there, rethink your defenses, and I'll catch you in the next one.